You're listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Tanner Munson. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.
Hi, it's Louisa Tanner Munson from feelgoodastrology.com, and I'd like to welcome you to this podcast on the North Node and its effects when it's in your fourth house at birth in your birth chart, or if you've got it transiting through your fourth house currently. So it's a podcast of two types, I guess, sort of merged into one. So looking at your birth chart and also via transit. Probably the best place to start is to understand what the North Node is and what it isn't, and also have an understanding of the fourth house. And as many astrologers will do, when we look at one point, we often look at the opposing point, and that's where I'm going to start today. So if you've heard of the North Node, you might have also heard of the South Node, and these two go hand in hand, and any astrologer worth their salt will consider both. And I'm going to describe it in a couple of different ways, and a lot of it depends on your model of the world and the universe and life as it is, as you see it. For those of you that believe in karma from a cyclical and life after life after life after life, like a reincarnation style basis, then the South Node will make sense to you as the point in your birth chart that represents all your past lives, that you've grown really, really good at doing some things. So it shows an unconscious competence towards one part of your birth chart. It shows where you've just got so good, you've got a level of excellence and understanding because you've done it again and again and again and again. For those of you that don't believe in past lives, you might just choose to see the South Node as representing your innate skills that you've been born with. So that uncanny little habit or talent that you've got that no one else in your family seems to have, but you have, that could be represented by your South Node. It just shows what's easy for you, what you've already achieved. So it's a useful point to look at in your birth chart. Now, the North Node shows the direction we're moving in and towards. It shows the karma that we've not yet really managed to tame. It shows the things that we struggle to achieve. And it really shows, I guess, like a development plan for us too. So the North Node is definitely worth exploring. Now, it can also show, so if you look at it from the South Node perspective, showing where you've come from, this shows what you've already got under your belt. The North Node shows where you're going, not just in this life, but in future lives. It's the karmic path that you're on, for those of you that believe in reincarnation. So it's a huge, huge theme. A lot of it also depends on your birth chart. So, for instance, if at the time you were born, your North Node is in squares and oppositions to some tricky planets, then it shows that this lifetime is going to have quite a huge impact on you in achieving and feeling a sense of peace regarding the direction you're going, regarding your karma. It shows that there's a lot of work to do and it could be very challenging. You know, it's not necessarily going to be straightforward. For those of you whose North Nodes are in nice, sweet little sextiles and trines to pretty benign and beneficial planets, then it's going to be a lot easier and you're going to feel like you've been guided karmically to do certain things. So, you know, a lot of it depends on how well it's set up in your birth chart, and that all depends on your time, place and date of birth. So it's worth exploring if you've got any confusion about, you know, what's my karma in this lifetime? Which direction am I heading in? It's definitely worth exploring. Now we're looking at the fourth house. So if we're looking at the fourth house, we also need to consider the 10th house, which is the polar opposite of it. So the 4th and the 10th are also cusp houses. You know, they're houses that have the 4th house cusp, known as the IC or Imam Kohli. The 10th house cusp is the midheaven. And these are like they're very important points in your birth chart, which go hand in hand with your ascendant and descendant. They're like your north, south, east, and west. And so the fourth house represents the inward direction in our birth charts. It shows our childhood, our behaviours that we've gained through our childhood. They often show the more nurturing parent. They also show what your house is like and all sorts of home issues. Your sort of north of that, or your opposite of that, is the 10th house, which often represents our most outward facing parent. It also shows us outside of the home. So, one side of the fourth house is about our inner life, our private life, our privacy and our sanctity and our sanctuary. Our 10th house shows our public persona, how we're perceived out in the public space. It shows our relationship to authority, and it shows our relationship to status and how much we are prepared to take authority and assume it ourselves. I often think of the 10th as representing the dad and the 4th as representing the mum, but not all astrologers are in agreement with that. Usually when I'm working with somebody on a birth chart level, I will try and find out which parent naturally fits into each of those houses. But a lot of, especially now, lots of mums work full time, and it's been made okay for dads to stay at home. It's not always that cut and dried. Sometimes parents are both inward and outward. So it's always worth asking those questions of yourself and also the clients that you work with. So anyway, the fourth house, it's really to do with your home. Now, if your north node is in the fourth house, then it shows that your south node is in the 10th house. So if we start from the place of the south node, because that really represents the past, whether it's your past life excellence in a public life and achievement and status, or whether you've just been born with this sort of natural brilliance and understanding of how to be public, how to get a great reputation, how to seem to have gravitas, then, I guess what's showing is there's this, you've already got the brilliance, the career brilliance. You've got all that it takes to have a very successful outer life in the public eye or in a position of authority. And with a south node in the 10th house, you have an appreciation of people who are in authority as well. It's also worth considering that the 10th house is traditionally ruled by Capricorn, which is also ruled by the planet Saturn, which, funnily enough, is one of the planets that represents our parents. I often find Saturn represents the father, so we're talking about paternalism. Now, if we look at the fourth house, which your north node is in, it's traditionally ruled by the sign of Cancer, and therefore is also ruled by the moon. And funnily enough, if you're looking at your birth chart, the moon often represents the mother. So we're talking about maternalism. So there are a lot of themes to do with, in this lifetime, you're moving away from being public and status driven. You're moving away from having achieved and having an achievement mindset. You're moving away from this constant questing to organise not just yourself but your environment and others. So there's this kind of natural ability to organise, manage and make sense of the world and get others in agreement with you. And actually where you're going in this lifetime with the north node in the fourth house is inwards. That's the whole message of this. And I guess with the inwards and outwards parallel, it's going to be challenging because you've already, as denoted by your south node, you've already achieved a level of excellence and it's quite alluring, isn't it, to have a good reputation or to get on well with authority or to have power. It's a bit of a turn on for lots of people. I mean, for most people, that's what they aspire to. But you've already got that. And so in this lifetime, you're being challenged to see how you can step out of the limelight, step out of your brilliance, step out of your gravitas, step out of the authority and influence that you carry, and to take that and move into a place of simplicity, maternalism, nurturing, move into a place of humble living in the home. Maybe you'll move your work into your home. I don't know, but the challenge for you is to not really want all the razzmatazz, but to see the value in a peaceful, family-led life. And it doesn't have to be a family necessarily, because some people choose that they don't want that. And I completely respect that, because we're all on our own paths. But it's about finding your family, finding your home, and finding your peacefulness. And it's not about being showy-offy. It's about just finding that humble, peaceful place of joy, a place of safety, finding your sanctuary. So for many people, that is a huge task. And I think a lot of people do it the other way around. They try and get their peace, and they try and get everything lined up before they can go outward. I guess you can probably see it in the media, where people are honoured and revered and have status in their careers, in the sort of form of celebrity, and how some of them absolutely are really, really private about their lives, and that they have a good family life because there's inferences on it, on the internet to it. But you won't know because they're really, really private. That could be, the kind of person, or somebody that just chooses to have lots of children, or somebody who chooses, like an old lady who lives in the shoe, but somebody that just wants a homestead, somebody that wants to grow vegetables and have fruit trees and take their time and nurture the environment they're in. So they become an authority in their own right, in their own home. So it could be a really, really beautiful North Node placement, but quite an important one. Definitely an important and life-changing one. Now, if the North Node is going through your fourth house, then these themes are all coming up for you. And you have to remember where your North Node has just been, or where the transiting North Node has just been. For the last 18 months, it would have been in your fifth house, encouraging you to get passionate about your life and to stand for your creations, take responsibility for your creations. So it could be that you've got yourself into a relationship in the 18 months. That often comes up with flirting and sexuality and deepening relationships. They are definitely fifth house themes. It might be that you've had a child, so you've increased your fertility, given birth and had a child in the previous 18 months. That's another strong theme for a North Node in a fifth house. Or it might be that you've come out of the workplace, because the North Node would have been in the sixth house before that. So you've changed where you've worked, and you've invested time in your hobbies and the things you're passionate about. And now you've got your own little home business. And each of those scenarios shows the North Node taking people into the home, taking them back. Like if you've got children, you might decide with the North Node going through your fourth house that actually you want to take time away from your career, or that you want to be a stay-at-home mum or a part-time mum. So you might be stepping back into the home. If you found yourself in a relationship, you might be deciding that you're going to create a nest together, and you might find a home move. If you've recently, with the North Node going through the fifth house, if you've recently developed your passions and your talents, you might now be working from home. So the fourth house North Node, the transiting North Node going through the fourth house, is really showing that you're going back to the home and creating the home in the way that you really want it to be. As a little aside, it might also represent problems with the mother, or the parent that's been the most nourishing. It might represent something going on the maternal family line that needs dealing with, because again, that takes you back to the home and it takes you back to your childhood. So all of these issues are coming up. However it's being expressed in your life, the North Node going through the fourth house is taking you back home. And I guess if you have got some psychological issues that have come up in your life, if there are other planets involved in and aspecting the transiting North Node, then this is going to be quite an important time for you as it goes in the 4th house, because it probably does show a lot of unfinished business to do with your childhood that is coming up for analysis and understanding. So hold tight on that one if that's the case. Now, if any of this information has made you think you might want a reading or might want to explore your birth chart and explore these themes more, then just drop me a line. You can reach me on email via Louisa, that's Louisa, at feelgoodastrology.com. So I hope to hear from you soon, and I'd like to thank you very, very much for listening this far. Take care.
You've been listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Tanner Munson, and this recording has been made possible by all you lovely supporters at Patreon. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.